To the start of the pilot track.
Seite schwenkt. Die Neuzüge.
Let's let in the track, attention at the track.
Second heat of race 5 of the IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup as the sun sinks below the mountains in Austria's Tyrol above the city of Innsbruck. Welcome back to Igls, everybody, as we get ready for the final run of a World Cup weekend on the current iteration of the track. New track, a new finish area, and new corners has been built and will be joined on next year. But before then, a final chance maybe to set new track records that will last in perpetuity. Third place after the first of the two heats, last year's winner, Lisa Bugwitz. She has Nayla Scooten with her. She won last year with Vanessa Mark. Nayla Scooten took bronze with Lara Nolter. 5 consecutive silver medals for Kim Kilicki on this track, the last 3 with Leonie Fiebig. She lies in the silver medal position, just 400s off gold and 1500s ahead of Bugwitz. But the leader after the first heat, Lara Nolter with Deborah Levy. The Olympic champions back together again. Nolter finished in bronze last year, but has 4 wins on this track in her World Cup career. Her first with, in fact, 2 of the 4 of them with Deborah Levy. So it is a tight lead group, as so often is the case on this track, and behind them it's not exactly plain sailing either, just a few hundreds between any of the sleds. There's a dead heat for 8th between Poland's Linda Wyszewski and Kaylee Humphries of the USA, and another few hundreds back is the next group of sleds. So the fastest 20 of 27 starters in the first heat go through, and they will go in reverse order of that performance. First off, therefore, will be Victoria Chinanska and Lucia Makrosova of Slovakia. Well, there is Lauren Olter looking for a 5th win on this track. Melly Hasler looking for a medal here as well. And Keisha Love, the only woman outside of the German team to have won a medal in the World Cup in the first half of the season. She might be a little far out of reach for those, but always keen to move up the order. Well, the 20 sleds go through in reverse order. And that means there is always a target in front of you, unless you happen to be Lauren Olter and Deborah Levy and the last to leave the changing room. So Melissa Lottholtz on the left-hand side. Melissa with Leah Walkenden in the sled again. And the 2 Canadian sleds separated by Andrea Greco. In fact, 3 Canadian sleds with Bianca Ribby at the top of the pile, separated by just a couple of others. So it'll be an interesting battle between the 3 Canadian duos to see who gets the best of the second heat. Well, at the end of the season, the track will change completely. It'll become longer with a whole new finish area that doesn't involve death curve and tunnel, which will be nice for everybody. So we're looking forward to seeing what it brings for the future. And that means any records that are set this weekend will remain the World Cup records, and likely actually the all-time track records, unless something very freaky happens later in the spring. So here's our starting draw. 20 sleds. We go from 20th down to 1st. So last out are always the current leaders. Start record remains from January 2014, set by Alana Myers-Taylor and Asia Evans. We didn't quite get close enough to that, but as the temperature drops, who knows? And the track record lowered twice in the first heat. Lauren Olter and Deborah Levy have the current track record. Race 5 for the IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup getting back underway here in Innsbruck. Second and deciding heat, starting off with Victoria Chinanska and Lucia Makrosova. Start draw number 1, say with the first out of the dressing room in the first heat, and finishing 20th, they are first out of the dressing room in the second heat. 14th World Cup race for the duo together. They started 5.82 in the first heat, the 23rd best start. So she outdrove her start to finish in 20th, 5.80, a whisker quicker. It might just be that the ice has firmed up a little bit, allowing the sled to run more cleanly. The track will have been spritzed between the heats, so a nice glossy finish of freshly frozen water over the top of all the grooves and all the marks, like sending down the Zamboni, although that wouldn't be a drive I'd volunteer for. And Chinanska with a second opportunity with the best ice of the day. And as the sun drops, with it drops the temperature. The ice should remain hard, and it may well be quicker at the end of the second heat than it was at the end of the first, or early in the first when our top seeds went. So Chinanska's first heat, 53.27, 53.07, 0.2 of a second quicker. How much of that is improvement by Chinanska? How much is improvement in the track? Chances are much of that came from the driver, actually. At this end of the top 20, the consistency of performance is maybe not quite as accurate as it will be at the other end of the top 20. Tidier run out of the Kreisel down to corner 8. Little skid on there, and out of 9. Late steer just about avoids a big clatter with the wall. So Victoria Chinanska, the current leader. Next up for Canada, Cynthia Appiah and Skylar Sieben. Well, Sin with a slightly disappointing run this season. 10th, 13th, 19th and 17th. Her best result in World Cup racing has been a 4th place finish here in Innsbruck, and not in the last couple of seasons. 5:67, so starting 300 slower than Chananska. Skylar Sieben new to the team this season. Quiet drive so far down to the Kreisel for Apia. Oh, and really uncomfortable exit off the Kreisel, brought it down too early. Clipped the short wall on the inside, too late off 9. Struggling to get the timing right. That's so critical on this track, perhaps above all others, because the line is identical for everybody and it's so short. All mistakes are exposed. 52.96, will they take the lead? But will they move up the order? 53.13 in the first heat. Off a slightly faster start, but a better drive down in the second. Sin finished 12th here last season. Not going to match that. Well, came down, she just clipped the wall on the inside on the exit of the Kreisel. And then tapping and bashing all the way down into 8. So Skylar alongside her. And next up for Austria, a little bit of local support for Lea Hasselwanter, making her World Cup debut here today in the women's bob with Isabella Indrikova in her 3rd World Cup, the 2 previous with Kati Beil, the senior Austrian driver. 5 Europe Cup races here for Lea, and of course this is home ice for the Austrians. 5:71 getaway, 5:68 in the first heat, so not quite as quick. And their advantage of 100th of a second at the line over Cynthia Appiah is going to be hard-earned again this time. Starts a whisker slower than the Canadian, so the first heat advantage disappeared at the start. She's now 1400ths back. Good height in the Kreisel, brings it down nicely. That's a good exit, that should build her speed. Second quickest behind Chananska, 9 to 10, not entirely tidy. Down through the labyrinth, still 1400ths back. She's not going to close that much in the final few corners. Appiah leads, and 1600ths back in second place, 53.13. She came down 53.12 in the first heat. And that means on her World Cup debut, not only did she make the cut, she will be no worse than 18th place. She looks happy, doesn't she? She's a very smiley character, Lea Hasselwanter. And good to see her finally getting women's bob status in the World Cup. It's a strange anomaly that a number of times you see drivers racing in the World Championships before they've got into a World Cup qualified team. 3 down, Cynthia Appiah leads for Canada. Next up is Adele Nicol with Kaya Placide behind her. So Adele with 22nd start draw. Beg your pardon. Yeah, 22nd start draw. Coming late in the first heat. 7th World Cup race for her. Raced here in Europe Cup a couple of seasons ago. Kaya made her debut here in the World Cup last year with Nikki McSweeney for Team GB. 18th fastest start, came down 17th quickest. Let's see if they can find something. 5:68, 200s quicker than their first run. Smoothly through the upper corners. Keeping that speed alive is so critical early on in this racetrack. It's the only chance you get to physically accelerate the sled. After that, you're trying desperately not to give speed away. 1400s up. Building her advantage. Nice exit from 9, down to 10. Little late flop off 10. into the labyrinth. Looks pretty clean so far, building speed to the line and ahead by 26 hundredths. That's a good run. So 53.06 to 52.77, 3/10 quicker, and 52.77 would have left her in 12th place, not 17th place in the first heat. Much more where she would like to be. That's a good second run from Adele Nicol. They might get hoiked out of the leader's box immediately, but they might last a few more sleds. 13th in Altenburg, 21st in Winterberg, 16th last weekend in St. Moritz. Leaves Kaya to get on with the sled. Well, that's nice, isn't it? Next up, Melissa Lotholtz with Leah Walkenden. This duo have been racing together for a while. 12th best start. Couldn't match that pace down the track, though. And a 5.64, another good getaway, so she opens up another 400ths of her lead over Adele Nicol. It was 600ths from the first heat, out to a 10th as she sat down, and that increased acceleration at the start should help her build the advantage to the second clock, but it's already halved, and it should be in the red. Well, she's at dead level at the Kreisel. Not as quick. Adele Nicol was fastest in all 4 speed traps. 500s back, only 3rd quickest. And late off 9. Out of 10, late flop as well. Late in 11, late in 12. Little rocky bottom half of the track. And it's a quarter of a second back. 53.08. Now, I'm sure Adele has been doing the numbers at what position is a top 67% of the field, or 76 or 75 or whatever it is that is an Olympic qualifier, of which she will need 3. She had 1 in St. Moritz. Ooh, a little late there in 9, wasn't it, really? All right, the mistakes are so tiny here and they make such a big difference. Adele Nicol leads after the first 5 sleds. Andreea Grecu of Romania with Teodora Vlad behind her. 1/10 of a second first heat advantage over current leaders Adele Nicol and Kaya Placide of Great Britain. And let's see if the Romanian can pick her performance up a little. 14th at the start, 15th at the bottom. Grecu's had some good results on this track. Not in the last couple of seasons, though. 2 6th place finishes, but last year 11th. She'll have to do really well in the second heat, even to match that from 16th in the first heat. 1400s up, the gap coming down after the start from Adele Nicol. 5.62. They started quicker than the British sled, but didn't have the momentum. Not really steadying the ship either. 3rd best speed. Single digits is the lead. Might be enough to get her in ahead at the line. 500ths of a second. Oh, I don't know. It's going to be tight. She should just have enough. She does. 52.84. But the top 2 only 300ths apart, so there is the chance that if anybody else doesn't improve, then the 2 of them might rise up the order together. So Andrea on the front handle, Teodora at the black, rotating the hands. Out of 9, pretty tidy, but gets the tap, the slap, and straightened up for 10. Bianca Ribby and Niamh Hockey for Canada, just 500ths in front of Andreea Grecu after the first heat. And that means, again, that they need another strong start. 5.63 in the first heat, 12th best start. Came down in 14th position, but again, a late start draw probably didn't help. 5.64, so a whisker slower. Nothing to worry about dramatically there. Sixth best velocity off the second best start. That's more of a concern. Second fastest start, you should have second best velocity, at least. Just 100th in it. Don't forget, Grecu and Nicole, the 1-2, are separated by just 300ths. Has no lead, coming late out of 9. In the red. And the top two are so closely bracketed. She looks like she's dropping to third. She does. 1300ths back, 53.02. I want to say hi to former Canadian World Cup and World Championship and Olympic slider Helen Upperton, who is back in a bobsleigh in Whistler doing passenger rides with Chris Spring. Lord help us all. Jessie Lumsden not as good as Shelly-Ann Brown on the hair plats. A little late again, as we saw from Melissa Lotholtz coming off 9. Track is definitely changing, I think, in this second heat, or has changed for this second heat. Looks like everybody's timing is just a whisker off. Deborah Annan with rookie brakewoman, former snowboard crosser, Julia Maria Neuenberger. Only 20th fastest start, but she outdrove that to come down in 13th place, Deborah Annan. Looks like a nice load, 5.71 getaway, same as they managed in the first heat. So they're losing out to the sleds around them at the start. But the Swiss can drive a sled. Only 3 World Cup starts under her belt. She's been impressive so far. She starts well in the monobob as well. Deborah Annan's third. Women's bob race, just 300ths back. Oh, a little sideways off 9. 700ths back, drops from second to third. Behind Andrea Grecu and Adele Nicol. Yeah, 800ths back at the line, so Grecu remains in the leader's box. Well, Andrea Grecu, 11th last year. At the moment, she leads with 12 to go, so she'll be no worse than 13th. Austro-Swiss assistants at the back there. Well, they slip a spot or two. 2 spots, just 800ths of a second back. Brought it back a whisker early off the Kreisel. Gets that skid as a result. Centrifugal force still pushing the back of the sled as she tries to straighten the front up for corner 8. So, from snowboard cross to bobsleigh. Next up, Margot Bock with Talia Solitude. Talia making only her 3rd World Cup start for the French team. 18th best start, Margot drove it down into 12th position. 5.73. Margot needs an absolute start monster behind her because she can drive a sled. Third on the splits from the start, 4th at the moment. Gaps out to a 10th of a second, and only the 5th best speed for Bock, but she makes her speed further down. There's just not much ice in which to do it here. Look at that, great exit out of 9 down to 10. She feels the ice, she knows exactly what she's about. Little late in 12.13, and across the line, she'll drop to 5th position, 1400s back behind Bianca Ribbi. The gaps are so tiny here. Top 3 covered by 800s. Well, that was 0.2 slower than her first heat. And the start was comparable, only 0.03 of a second slower. Out of the Kreisel down to 8, gets bumped away. All of these bumps, if you try lifting a sled on your own with 2 athletes in it, that's not happening unless you are Kevin Kuska or Damon Strayskins. Takes a lot of energy. Next up, Brianna Walker and Kira Rodingus. The Aussies making it through. Their teammates did not. They're watching there from the sidelines. Fourth place in last year's women's race here for Brianna Walker. A World Cup best result for her, on the edge of the medals. She's had a hatful of medals, including a win in the Monobob. Yet to break the German domination of the podium in women's bobsleigh. But with Pierre Luders, they're definitely trying. Big advantage here over Andrea Grecu. Looking to fight her way into the top 10 and a little higher up. Brianna Walker losing a little down at the bottom. She's not quite going to be half a second in front. 4800s, 52.69. Well, came down in 52.63 in the first heat. Who says Pierre Luders is grumpy? Just isn't. Sometimes he's quiet, sometimes he's focused and intense. I'm not having it. He is not. He's not a grumpy guy. He enjoys what he's doing enormously. Decent exit out of 9, just gets away with the tiniest of taps, but it comes back for 10. All right, so handy lead for Brianna Walker and Kira Rodingus. 10 down and 10 to go here in Innsbruck. Final 10 sleds of the World Cup competition. Sylvia Hoffman and Sadie McMullen. Sadie made a debut last week with Alana Myers-Taylor. In with Sylvia Hoffman. 5th World Cup race for the former brakewoman. 10th place last week in St. Moritz. Her first top 10 finish in the World Cup. Her best result. Let's see if she can double up on that. They kind of get in. 5:53 is a strong start. 5:56 in the first heat. So their battle is with Brianna Walker, the current leader, who was only 400s behind in the first heat. They've outstarted Walker. They've carried the momentum well. So they got in sort of sideways but quietly. Only the 8th best speed. Del Nichols' sled is still fastest everywhere but the start speed trap. Maybe this track is not holding up in terms of speed. Hoffman's still in green numbers and goes from 1/10 to 2/10 up. Holds it together and across the line, 2200s up, 52.51. Guarantees herself her second straight top 10 finish. And they just stopped before the rubber. So Sadie McMullen, second World Cup race and a second different driver. Well, they started top 10 and finished top 10. And that is easier said than done here in Innsbruck. Very late. Very late. Later than the first heat. I bet they felt their backside separating from the sled there, but they got away with it. Next up, we have our dead heat for 8th. Linda Wajszewski and Klaudia Adamek of Poland, with Kaylee Humphries and Lolo Jones of the USA. The Poles tied the time, they go first. World Cup best for Wajszewski, a pair of 9th place finishes in the last 2 races. And with Claudia Adamek joining her, world-class sprinter. It's really accelerated the Polish driver's abilities. 5:49, another excellent start. That was the fourth fastest start in the field in the first heat, their 5:49. Can't argue with starting like that. Best speed of all, here we go. So Linda Wyszewski, 2 ninth place finishes in the last 2 races, tied for 8th. Ahead of Sylvia Hoffmann, the gap's coming down from 1500ths to only 400ths of a second. Hoffmann was a bit wild in the labyrinth. It might work for the Poles, it doesn't. 52.53, we got one, yes you did. 100th ahead of Hoffmann, comes down 200 slower, and as a result, loses out by 100th of a second. It is still another top 10 finish for Poland. And I can't tell you the last time Poland had 3 consecutive top 10s. Did David Kupczyk do it? In men's bobsleigh, their current coach, I'm not sure. Pretty sure in women's bob and mono we haven't. Next up, at the back, Lolo Jones in front, in the goggles. Of course, it is Kaylee Humphries, the 2-time Olympic champion. Let's see what they've got. 5:62 first start, 5:62 second start. So they lose out in terms of speed at the start. But in terms of driving ability, Kaylee has got the ability and the experience in spades. 8th place after the first heat in her 125th World Cup race as a driver. And that's aside from World Championships and Olympic Games and all the other stuff, and the races she did as a brakewoman. Best speed from Humphries. Just 700ths back. A 10th away. Whoa! Little late in the labyrinth. I think Hoffmann's got this. She's going to pick off a 2-time Olympic champion, 52.66. And Kaylee slips 2 because Wyszewski was only 100th back. Kaylee Humphries, Lolo Jones, world champions in women's bobsleigh in 2021 in Altenburg. The COVID Worlds. Whoa. Hoiked it off. You don't see that very often from Kaylee Humphries. And nobody is perfect. 7 to go. Sylvia Hoffmann leads. Next up, Melanie Hassler with Nadia Pasternak, her 2nd World Cup race since returning from becoming a mum, Nadia. I mean, she's still a mum, but, you know, that went well. We'll edit that out later. Let's see what they got. First heat start was a 5:53, 6th quickest start rather, 5:51, quicker again. Nadia's partner, Roman Heinrich, who retired after the Winter Games, apparently has unretired and is driving Eurocup bobsleighs again. Well, if his partner and mother of their child is competing, then he might as well be as well. Then they're all on tour together. 600s up, it's a slender margin over Sylvia Hoffmann. This for top 7 position. Ooh, and again, late in the labyrinth. Holding on to the speed, just 700s up, 52.47. That was a good run. 900s quicker than her first heat. And that would have left her in 5th place rather than 7th place in the first run. Too much snow in the sled, getting a wet backside. They get in, get down. Good starting from this duo. And a nice exit out of 9, look at that. Now we're in the top tier. Here we go, 6 to go, and Switzerland with the lead.
Here we go. Come on.
Keisha Love and Emily Renner. Keisha 8th last year, 6th place after the first heat with the 6th best start. Had a bit of a wild time in the labyrinth, the lower labyrinth in the first run. Let's see if Keisha and Emren can get a good run going together here. 5:53, another strong start, exactly what they did in the first getaway. Hard to keep a consistent line in turn 2 and 3. Just a little waving in 2, little tap between 4 and 5. Taking a few hundreds out of the sled. Keisha Love in only her 2nd World Cup drive on this track, her 3rd race in total. Coming to 200s back. Oh, not as tidy out of 9 as Melanie Hasler, but she was flying in the first heat down at the bottom. 300ths of a second in it, the gap's grown a fraction. Is she going to be behind at the line? Oh, it's a dead heat. They are both in the top 6. There's baby Noeli. Toddler Noeli now, 52.49. So Keisha Love is in the top 6. And Emily Renner forgetting where they were and just releasing the brake a little there. Well, out of 7, the Kreisel down to 8. Not a bad looking run at all there. Came a little sideways off corner 9. Late steer just to bring it down. She's just a little late with that. You don't want to bring it down too early in 9. That was a whisker late. Nevertheless, tied for the lead with 5 to go. So there'll be 5 in the leader's box. A little bit of boy's own, and why not? Next up, Catty Bile with Christiania Williams, a Jamaican sprinter, Olympic medalist in Rio, and a World Championship medalist in London 2017 as well. 5:50. They started 5:49 in the first heat, 4th fastest start. That is currently the 2nd fastest getaway in the field, with 4 sleds still to come. And the start is so powerful here. Only the 12th best speed. She's still got a slender lead, but it is slender. We could get a 3-way tie. If she's clean at the bottom, all the speed's going away. She's really letting it fly. In the labyrinth, not enough, 52.62. She drops 2 spots. She drops to 4th place, in fact, behind Sylvia Hoffman as well. And she ties with Linda Wyszewski, so the top 5 sleds are covered by 800ths. 700ths of a second is what it takes to blink your eye. You want close? We got close. Oh, got a bit caught up getting in there. And then has to reset and drop down into the sled. But her new busy brake woman, Christiania Williams, there she is on the left. So we have a tie for the lead. Keisha Love and Melanie Hasler in the leader's box. Alana Myers-Taylor and Jasmine Jones together at the block. 4th place after the first heat. 1500ths out of the medals. Alana with 2 wins on this track. One first with Lauren Williams, and then with Lolo Jones. 5:58 getaway, another strong start. 5:53 in the first heat. So they lose a little bit of that start line performance. And what was a 10th is now 500ths. She's bringing it back. This is a track that really suits Alana. So too does Samaritz, and I don't know what the similarity of the two is. Absolutely none, apart from pinpoint precision, and you can't quarterback scramble this track. 1800s up. Really good run from Alana Myers-Taylor, 52.37, 200s quicker than her first heat. Is that enough for a medal? Well, Jasmine Jones not getting the sled stopped. Again, off onto the rubber. Now it matters less. They lead with 3 to go. As for the Kreisel, nice line from Alana. She's just leaning the sled a little to her right. And out of 9, watch the runner tips. Finish steering beautifully, straight down to 10. Gets the line just how she likes it. Maybe it is just the experience, the knowledge, that feel that she's engendered in herself over many years. But there are still 3 to go, and they're all German. And 2 of them former winners. Lisa Buchwitz, last year's winner on this track. 2 monobob wins and women's bob gold last year. A monobob win yesterday, 5:43 start. So starting 1500s quicker than Alana Myers-Taylor and Jasmine Jones. Her lead is now 4200s. This is about trying to win again, trying to beat her teammates. And Lisa Buchwitz, over the last couple of years, has developed into such a great driver. I'm sure way faster than she expected or hoped, and probably faster than the coaches expected or hoped as well. 3500s up, 3200s at the line. The speed sort of faded towards the bottom. She's in the medals. Is that enough for a win? Suspect it might not be. 52.20, 400s quicker than her first heat. It's enough for a medal though. Winner last year, Lisa Buchwitz. She will be in the medals again here today. World champion with Vanessa Mark. Won here last year with Vanessa. Nela Skuten behind her in today's race. And they'll be in the medals again. Nela on the left, Lisa on the right. Lisa's second World Cup driving on this track, and her first medal. Kim Killicky and Leonie Fiebig, well, they've been in the silver medal position in the last 3 races together, and Killicky has had 5, I beg your pardon, silver medals on this track. They lie in the silver medal position after the first heat, but 400s off the lead, 5:46 getaway, 5:44 in the first heat. So they lose a little bit of their advantage over Lisa Buchwitz and Nela Skuten. $1,400s up. First heat advantage re-established. Now driving away from Buchwitz in the second run. Best speed as well. Alana Myers-Taylor was quickest up to this stage, but Kim Killicky has got more speed on board in her FES sled. 1800, she's creeping away from Lisa Buchwitz. She'll have the lead at the line. Is it enough for gold? We'll know in 2 minutes. 52.15. 52.09 in the first heat. And that gives a tiny margin for Lara Nolte and Deborah Levy. Well, Killicky, the only one of the 3 German drivers who has not had a win on this track. Her brakewoman Leonie Fiebig has had 2 wins, one with Stephanie Schneider, one with Lara Nolte. And then 3 consecutive silvers. But the Olympic champions are back together, Lara Nolte and Deborah Levy. Nolte with 4 wins on this track, with Deborah in December 2020. And then with Leonie Fiebig Deborah Levy and Nayla Scooten in the previous 3 races before last year. 5:42 getaway, exactly what they managed in the first heat. So, starting 400ths quicker than Kielicki and Fiebig. They double their first heat advantage out to 800ths, now 900ths of a second. These will be tiny incremental gains, slightly better speed than Kielicki. Only the 3rd best speed, coming out of double digits. Strange chattering noise that we hear from the sleds occasionally. Now out to 1200ths up. Best speed. And heading to gold, Lauren Alter, a new track record, 52.04, 100th quicker than her first heat. Track record in both runs, gold medal for the 5th time. Third win of the season for Lauren Alter. 2 silver medals as well, and her 5th gold medal in Innsbruck. And Deborah Levy with her, the pink hats as ever. So fastest start in the first heat, fastest start in the second heat, track record in the first heat, track record in the second heat. If it sounds like Francesco Friedrich, that's because that is so often his way of doing it. And Lauren Alter using exactly that playbook. Unbeaten in the start or on the track here in Innsbruck. Win number 5. So, victory by 1500ths of a second over teammate Kim Kielicki. Lisa Buchwitz takes the bronze ahead of Alana Myers-Taylor, Keisha Love and Melly Hasler. And Sylvia Hoffman a fine 7th place ahead of Katy Bahn, Linda Wyszewski and Kaylee Humphries. So 2 dead heats in the top 10 alone. And some big gaps between the top 3 and the rest. Not so many big gaps further on down. Brianna Walker, Andrea Greco just out of the top 10. Adele Nicol in 13th place ahead of Deborah Annan and Bianca Ribby. And Leah Hasselvanter, unfortunately for her, slipping a couple of spots down the order, but made the cut on her World Cup debut. So there's your happy winners. Lauren Alter on the left, Deborah Levy on the right-hand side. The Olympic champions back at it here at a 5th consecutive, not consecutive, a 5th win in Innsbruck for Lauren Alter. After Lisa Buchwitz and Vanessa Mark won last year, she's back to her winning ways. Her run interrupted by Stephanie Schneider and Lainey Fiebig and Kaylee Humphries and Lolo Jones in the 22-23 season, 21-22 season, 2021 season even. A year where we had 3 races here. Lauren Alter won 1 of them and has won 4 more now since then. Lauren Alter then easing away from Kim Kielicki at the top of the women's bobsleigh standings. Lisa Buchwitz in 3rd from Melly Hasler, Kaylee Humphries and Alana Myers-Taylor, Katy Bile, Keisha Love and Margot Bock 7th, 8th and 9th places in the race for the Crystal Globe, with Andrea Greco rounding out the top 10. So 5 races in and 3 more to go for women's bobsleigh. Back in Samritz next week, and then 2 weeks in Lillehammer at the start of February to round out the World Cup season. There is your podium. All German again. Lauren Alter, Deborah Levy taking victory. Kim Kielicki, Lainey Fiebig in the silver. And Lisa Buchwitz and Nayla Scooten take the bronze. And that is it forever from this version of the Igls track in Innsbruck, Austria. Join us next week. We start our action from Samritz on Friday morning with the Monobob, and then bobsleigh Saturday and Sunday. See you then. Bye for now.